Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. It's the final match of the season, an important one for Manchester City. I'm pleased to be joined by Nigel from the Man City show to get his thoughts on all things Man City and West Ham ahead of that big game at the Etihad. Nigel, are you going to do it?
I hope so. No one has ever done four in a row, of course, as you know. So it will be really special if we do. And then two back-to-back doubles as well. What a special time to be a City fan. And I was nervous. I was at Spurs the other night. That was the one I was most worried about in terms of our run-in. Arsenal just keep winning, don't they? And we just got to keep doing the same. And we got that monkey off our back. I've been to Tottenham, I think, 6 times to their new stadium. I didn't go to the FA Cup tie when we won 1-0, and Nathan Ake, sort of 88th minute winner, scrambled across the line. So I hadn't seen not only have not seen City win, I hadn't seen City score a goal at any of our visits there. So to get a 2-0 win, although the first half was very stressful and we were terrible, it's all about this weekend. And I am nervous because it's City, and I've been around too long being a City fan. And is it going to be typical City? Arsenal win and we draw, it's not enough. We've just got to win, haven't we? So I'm nervous, of course. We're not over the line yet, but it would be absolutely fantastic to do 4 on the trot. No one's ever done it, as I
say. This is why I can't get on board when sort of mainstream media or non-Man City fans say it must be boring being a Man City fan. I think, really? The title's going to the last game of the season and you were 45 minutes away from putting it into Arsenal's hands on Tuesday night. How could that be boring? So
yeah, it's interesting people's definition of boring, I suppose. We won 5 trophies in the calendar year last year, and just imagine your club doing. We can talk as European champions, of course. The two of us here, there's not many clubs can say that, can they?
No.
But I've never understood that. And if boring means playing the ball out to the back, sort of keeping possession. But you have to understand how people play against City as well. Of course, we play with 11 across the back, and I sit quite high up in the second tier of the Colin Bell stand, my season ticket, and I've got a fantastic view of the patterns and the way teams line up, and they just have 5 at the back a lot of the time, and that's not easy. Any team, however good you are, whatever quality you've got, it's very, very difficult to break that down. So we keep the ball, we press hard. We've got an amazing striker who's not had a great season, people say, but he's still going to be the leading goal scorer. Twice on the trot, in his first 2 seasons in the Premier League. Yes, we've got quality across the park in every single position. And I go back to the 3rd tier of English football. York City, no disrespect to York City, but York City away wasn't a great trip, and we clawed our way back. Thank you, Paul Dickoff. And thank you, Sergio Aguero, and all those wonderful moments we've had. And then Pep Guardiola arrives. What a genius. He's got to go down as the best manager ever. In my view, there's no doubt he's changed football. Lads on the park on a Sunday morning are playing the ball out from the back now as well. He's a genius. He's managed to reinvent that side season after season. I think there's only one player, Kevin De Bruyne, was in the team when he first arrived. So, what more can I say? It's a joy and a pleasure. It's the last word I would use to describe my club, Manchester City, is boring.
Brilliant. I love the answer. Absolutely love it. What's your overview of the season? I mean, I guess it might be difficult to say to some extent because you could end up with 2 trophies, but you could end up with none. So does it all depend on the next 2 games, and that's that?
Yes, it's a great question, and of course it does, because listen, we're not going to win the Champions League, and we're not going to win the League Cup. Terrible. Where was there to go after last season? And literally, I've said to you, we won all 5 trophies. We didn't win the League Cup. Sorry, we won 5 of the 6 trophies we played in. Ridiculous. What a fantastic season. It was just amazing. So have we come down from that? Yes. Have our performances been as good as that? Probably not. Listen, I don't want to make excuses about injuries. Every club has its injuries, but De Bruyne was out for a while. Haaland was out for a while. So yeah, we probably haven't been at our absolute best throughout the season like we were last season. What's interesting is, of course, as soon as kind of the tail end kicks in, that's when Man City kind of really kick on, and that's where Pep is a genius, that he manages to get the players peaking at the right time, that the M word, that momentum comes into play. And we have managed, we don't know yet, we have managed to get ourselves in a position where we're 1 game away from winning the Premier League, and we're one game away from winning the FA Cup. So to do the double on the back of what we did last season would be quite spectacular. But yeah, to win nothing, I'm sure we'll hear all the criticisms and all the money we spent, and I'm sure someone will mention the 115 charges again as well. I'm sure that'll come out, whether we win or lose, I guess. I hope you're not going to go there, but you might do, so I'm ready for it anyway, even if you do.
I will go there, but not for another minute. I'm not for another minute yet, though. When you mentioned that's what Pep does, he gets your momentum at the end of the season. What does he do? Do you know what the answer is? Because it does feel like at the start of the season until Christmas, it's almost like pre-season for Man City. And after the New Year's, like, now you're going to see the real, and you just keep on winning. You just turn into this like massive robot from New Year's until the end of the season. So what is it that Pep does? Is there anything in particular? Or is it just one of these things that City fans just shrug at and goes, it just happens?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have the honour of being in the dressing room or on the training ground to see exactly what he does. My observations tell me a couple of things. One, I think he is forensic, is a word I've used before to describe him, in terms of the detail, and he's meticulous in terms of his planning. But I think anybody who can keep that number of superstars, world superstars, he can't play all 11 every week. How he keeps them motivated, how he keeps them, that team spirit together. There was a great example the other night, wasn't there, when Guardiola was on a hat-trick. Yeah, he's run into a fantastic vein of sort of scoring form for a fullback. And he could easily have got a hat-trick. And you know what? He thought about the team. He thought, do you know what? We've got a penalty taker on the pitch, not a usual one, but the number 2. And why would I do that? If I missed, and goal difference could be a thing at the end of the season, as we know. I just thought that kind of helped understand the sort of team spirit that he's created. But I wish I knew, because I'd love to bottle it and sell it, because I think it would make myself a fortune.
Right then, in terms of those charges then, what's the vibe from Manchester City fans with this upcoming case against your own club in the 115 charges?
I think it's very clear. I think the first thing to say is the club have been robust in their defence of these, and have been absolute from day one, have said very clearly that we will defend ourselves to the hilt because we're not guilty. They feel very strongly about that. I think the second thing to say is UEFA had similar charges, and nothing was proven there either. And I think the third thing is that, if we're guilty, then we'll take the punishment. If we've done wrong, and we will obviously fight it with probably the best lawyers on the planet to try and help us fight it. But if we're found guilty, we'll take the punishment, whatever that might be. And if we go back down to the third tier, I've already mentioned that already on the show with you, Gio, here. So it's kind of, if we go back down again, we'll all still be there. There'll still be another 30-odd thousand at the Etihad, and we'll take our 8,000 to 10,000 to every away game as well. You change your car, you change your partner, you change your socks, but you never change your football team. We'll be there 115 charges or none. But the club are absolutely robust in saying that we are absolutely not guilty of these charges. Bring it on.
I know you don't know, so me to ask for predictions are a bit wild, but as football fans, we've always got predictions. We've always got feelings as to how we think things might go. What's your feeling against these cases? Do you think you'll be able to beat them, or do you think you're going to be found guilty of some of them, all of them, or what? What's your thoughts?
If I was a betting man, and I'm not, and kind of like you say, lots of people have asked me this question, I suspect that there may be some charges that we may well be found guilty of. Out of 115, it'll be remarkable if we're not found guilty of any of them. I guess just the sheer numbers tell you that there might be one or two that we're found guilty of. And if that's the case, then we'll take whatever punishment there is. I'm hoping there'll be the minor ones, like the grass was a bit too long in one of the games we played, which I believe is one of the 115 charges. So that might be one of the ones we're found guilty of. Who knows? But as I say, the club have been pretty robust, and we'll take whatever punishment we take. We get.
From off the pitch to on the pitch, last question on your club before we move on to my club. For people who perhaps haven't watched too much of Manchester City recently, which players, and only pick one or two, don't go through your whole team here, which players would you say are banging form and to keep an eye out for on Sunday?
I think the number one player, I'm probably only going to mention one, and it's one I'm really upset and frustrated and angry, actually, that he was not nominated for Player of the Year, because he is quite magnificent. We don't lose when he plays. He absolutely controls everything. and that is Rodri, who is just number one on the team sheet every week, misses very few games, and he is absolutely fantastic. When Fernandinho left, who was one of my favourite players ever, he would always get into my sort of all-time Man City 11. I've been watching them for a while. Rodri is in the same mould. He's absolutely fantastic. And so I'm not going to mention any others. We have said before, we've got quality front to back. We know Ederson's not playing because he's fractured his eye socket. So we've got the reserve keeper coming in there. But yeah, I mean, Rodri's just superb.
Right then, to my team then, West Ham. What's your thoughts on West Ham this season?
Well, two of my best friends are West Ham supporters, so I'm going to give David Louis a mention because they'll like that, and it'll make sure they'll watch it now as well. Listen, there's a bit of a love between our two clubs. It goes back many, many years, and just as an aside, I hope that if we do get over the line, that some of you guys will stay in the stand and give us a bit of a round of applause as they go around with the trophy. Let's hope that happens. And I've got huge respect. I loved Upton Park. I love going there. I have to say, in equal measure, I hate your current ground. I would say that it's one of the worst, probably the worst ground as an away supporter to watch football, for all the reasons you'll understand about the running track and all that. Terrible, awful. As a team, I think a lot of what you've done has been overshadowed by the Moyes situation, and a lot of the news has been about that. But you won a European trophy last year. And I think you should have huge credit for that, because you don't have a massive budget. You don't have too many superstars like some of the other clubs, but you got to a European final and you won it. And I was delighted for you. I was cheering you on every step of the way. Jared Bowen's a bit the star, I suppose, and stands up head and shoulders above everybody else. I think he's the one player that I'll be looking out for on Sunday. Is he playing? Is he fit?
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine for Sunday.
Yeah. So I think he is head and shoulders. I think he's your standout player. And someone who I worry about if he can sort of get his the game by the scruff of the neck. He's the one who can make a difference. He's the one that I worry about most of all. I've got huge respect for West Ham, and delighted that you've seemed to have got away from kind of this sort of languishing near the bottom of the Premier League and getting into Europe and winning European competitions. And I genuinely wish you continued success.
One man I want to ask you about from us is Lucas Paqueta. Obviously, you tried to purchase him last summer, and then the betting allegations came out, which put a stop to that. From the West Ham side of things, heading into the summer transfer window, Paqueta's team are trying to get this cleared up. Basically saying, charge him or do one you've had long enough now. From the Manchester City side of things, do you want Lucas Paqueta? And do you think you're going to make a bid for him, or what's the rumours up at your end?
The feelings I'm getting is it's a no, and I think that it's kind of gone away. I think that the various sort of charges and stuff, I think sort of put the final nail in the coffin in that one. Listen, I don't know. I'm not that club. I'm a fan just like you are. We spend our hours chatting about our club and the club that we love. That's my only qualification here, and I've got no insight at all. I've got no knowledge whatsoever. But the feeling I get and the word amongst the fans is that ship has probably sailed.
Did you want him last summer? You personally, did you want him?
Not especially. No, he's not somebody I would have had on my shopping list particularly. No.
What's the reason for that?
He's not someone who sort of kind of appeared on my radar screen, I suppose. So you look at different clubs and certain players stand out. I've already talked about Jared Bowen, for example, and there's two or three players in each club that you notice and you think, well, actually, I was asked at the end of last season, who would you like to sign? And McAllister, from Brighton, I just loved the way he played. I thought he would be fantastic in a Pep team when he was playing at Brighton and so on. So there's one or two like that stand out. Yeah. He's not someone who's really sort of shown up on my radar screen, to be really honest.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just interested because I think I'm 50-50 if he's going to stay or go this summer. And I think there's only a handful of clubs in the world that can afford him. And obviously you had interest in him last summer. And while you got Nunez in from Wolves, I don't think he's not really had a fair chance per se. He's not had loads of game time, but he certainly hasn't come in and grabbed his spot. And Kovacic has done it towards the end of the season. He's looked good when called upon, but even his appearances can sometimes be spaced out. So I just did wonder maybe there's a space for someone like Paqueta, but this season I've almost become convinced he's not the right player for Manchester City. Watching him a year ago, I would have said yes, but in this season, not so much. Weirdly, because even though he's been better for us this year than he was the season past. Moving on to Sunday then at the Etihad. How do you see this one going?
Well, there's always the head and the heart, isn't there? Of course, the heart.
Give me
says,
both. Give me both.
Yeah, of course, I'm going to. The heart said, let's just get an early goal, because that Spurs game, just to go back to that 0-0, and then the sort of the Son 1-on-1. Yeah, that was awful. So let's get some early goals. Let's hear that Arsenal are losing by a few as well. Let's have a bit of a party, is what the heart says. The head says it's going to be much tighter than that. I don't think, you guys are going to give us a game. You're not a bad side at all. And there'll be lots of tension around the ground, which often sort of gets to the players as well. So I think there might only just be one goal in it. The head says, the heart says, let's get 2 or 3 and let's have a party.
My head and heart both say you're going to win comfortably.
Okay. You haven't been a Man City fan for as long as I have.
Yeah, but to be fair, we did our preview the other day, and I remember being at the game that you played us in the final game of the season, and you needed a draw to win it, and you beat us 2-0. But I couldn't remember when it was, and I forgot Pellegrini was actually the manager when you won it that season. So I went and had a look after we finished recording the preview. I thought, when was that? It was 10 years ago. I've never felt so old. I thought, hang on a minute, 10 years ago that happened. I thought it was like, I don't know, 6 years ago or something like that. But to discover it was 10, it hurt me a little bit, actually. But I remember that game because I stayed behind, as many other West Ham fans. When the pitch invasion was going on, there was almost like an applause between the two sets and stuff. And then when we did the preview, someone reminded me that Mark Noble's last ever game for us, Man City, were the visiting team, and a lot of your fans stayed behind and applauded Mark Noble after the game. And like you said earlier, there is a little bit of history between us and respect and stuff. And I just think we're 9th. We can't go 8th. We can't go 10th. We're 9th no matter what on Sunday. And I feel last week against Luton, that was our end of season game. We said goodbye to Moyes and stuff like that. And it just doesn't really feel like a game for us. So I think you'll be okay on Sunday, truth be told. I'm just glad that if you win the league. I was worried during the Spurs game because I thought you're going to have to come out and whoop us because you needed to overturn. I thought this is going to be a hiding on Sunday. But now I feel confident we're going to lose 3-0. And I feel quite confident in that scoreline as well. You'll get the job done by half time, and second half, you just pass the ball about and we just won't touch it.
Can I ask you a question here? I'm kind of curious, talking to another West Ham fan about David Moyes. I'm sure you've covered this lots on your show, but I'm sorry if you repeat.
No, it's all right, go on.
But I'm interested because obviously there seems to be two really strong camps, don't there? Those that say, kind of, come on, we're finishing mid-table. We've won a European trophy like less than a year ago. What are you talking about? And then those that say he has to go. I'm just interested. Is it literally polar opposites like that? Is that how it is? And what's your view on that as well?
I think there are those two camps, but I think there's a bit in the middle as well where just the way I sum up David Moyes is that to justify his football, because I don't find his football particularly enjoyable. It is defensive. It's not very fun to watch. And funny enough, his whole tenure, he's almost defended it by saying, well, I win games and I've got a really good win percentage, which he has done. Then just this week, he said, actually, my football's not always the best. Hang on a minute. Now you're finally admitting, had you done that 2 years ago and done something? Anyway, but I always think when he's yielding results as he had been, I feel like I have to stomach it. I don't particularly like it, but it works. When you finish 6th, you finish 7th. Last season was not good, finished 14th, but we won the European trophy. And then this year we've gone and finished 9th, which isn't the worst league position in the world. But I just say when the results stop, it becomes unenjoyable just instantly, because it's not like, I don't know, Brighton, I guess, who they're not always picking up results, but at least they enjoy what they watch while they are not winning to some extent, whereas I haven't been doing that. And I think he's been a good manager for West Ham. I think we're in a better place now than we were when he arrived. And I'm hoping when people say, the mainstream media say, well, what are you expecting 4th? I'm not expecting 4th. I don't actually have that much of an issue with the results itself. It's more the football. And if the football can become more enjoyable and we can be as competitive as we have been under David Moyes, I'll be happy with that, actually. If we can just challenge for European spaces, become a cup team again, try and just win the FA Cup, the Carabao, whichever. I'm not fussy. I don't care what one it is. Just win some silverware now and again. Then I'll be a happy hammer. So I'm glad he's leaving. but I do think he was a necessity. However, I think he stayed a year too long. I think going after we won the European trophy would have been the right decision for all parties, and it felt like the last year has been a bit of a waste, actually, because the club, I don't feel, really backed him, and I don't feel he really gave his all to West Ham either, because I think they both knew the ending was inevitable. So yeah, that's my thoughts anyway, Nigel. Glad he's going, but I think he did a good job.
Fair enough. Thanks, Gio.
Anyway, Nigel, just give me your final score prediction, please. What are you saying? Give me your. You can decide. You can choose if your head or heart wins. I don't mind, but I want a score prediction from you, please.
3-1 City, and we get our 4th title and a double.
And will you win the FA Cup?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm not sure if we'll score after 12 seconds again, but yeah, we've got to beat. We can't have them beating us. Come on,
no, I agree.
That can't be allowed. They are a shambles, and bring it on. Hope they're a shambles for many, many years to come.
Perfect. Well, Nigel, thank you very much. You guys at home have enjoyed this. Please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up, subscribing to Hammers Chat. And if you would like to hear and see more from Nigel, I'll put the links to his social media profile and the Man City show in the description below and the pinned comments. But Nigel, enjoy yourself on Sunday. Enjoy probably winning the 4th title in a row, something that Sir Alex never managed to do either. So enjoy yourself, and I'll catch up with you next season.
Cheers, Gio. Great to chat to you. Thanks a lot.